Good morning, everyone. This is the end of the RNC, and the song performed by Christopher Macchio, I think that's how you say that, is Nessun Dorma. Okay? And this happened the other day, August 28th. Today's August 29th. And this was like the topping off of the RNC. And Donald Trump is entertaining to watch. In politics, the clicks are driven by him. His tweets become international headlines. He is a force that has never, well, has been not often seen before. Barack Obama was a force in his own right and in a different way. But Donald Trump is a different thing. And he does things like this. The end of the movie, The Sum of All Fears, is also is put to Nessun Dorma. And you should watch this like 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Because the plot of The Sum of All Fears is the film is about a plot by an Austrian neo-Nazi to trigger a nuclear war between the United States and Russia so that he can establish a fascist superstate in Europe. And it's more complicated than that, just like everything. But man, I don't know what it means. Or if it means anything. Maybe Trump just really liked this song. But man, watch this. Consider Obamagate, consider Uranium One, consider the fact that Trump likes to send messages like this, or he likes to do things like this. This is like trolling, right? Like this is, and masterful trolling. Like how you become the president of the United States and then taunt your enemies with stuff like this. I mean, wow. Like it's complicated. That's revenge, man. Like you're going to get them back. And if you haven't watched the 2012 Correspondents' Dinner where Barack Obama kind of makes fun of Trump, and you see how angry Trump is during that. There's a video of him, and he's kind of sitting at the table, and he's like, "I'm gonna get him." And holy smoke, maybe this has something to do with that. I don't know. I don't know what it means, but it's very interesting. And I like politics. I think it's fun to watch anyway. So I lined them up, but I did a bad job. So I thought it'd be fun to listen to this guy singing it. The end of The Sum of All Fears. But anyway, regardless, you can play with that if you're interested. Links in the description. Getting into, and sorry that took so long, getting into the culture wars, I think, is the best way to describe this. All of the professional sports, and now the NHL is firmly in the sights of the sniper that is trying to take out professional sports, the Black Lives Matter sniper that's doing that. And the Post Millennials reporting, NHL players group demands league pay $100 million and change blue line to black line for racial equality. Wouldn't that be worse? Like, isn't that like, why would you bring race into the rules of the hockey game? Like the blue line is the blue line. Like, what? It's a very interesting situation for an NHL players group to demand these things. It's interesting to watch the NHL and the NBA and the NFL. Well, not necessarily the NFL, but the kneeling in the NFL started this. But now the NBA started refusing to play games. The NHL fell in line with that yesterday. I think a few games weren't played. And how long do you think fans will stick around with for that? I think that Don Cherry should start his own hockey league and have just people who want to play sports, no garbage, no politics, and you people, right? I don't know. I have no interest in this, right? I leave the politics out of it. I'm not a big sports guy anyway. As I said, it's not fast enough for me. But this is not at all how the NHL survives another 100 years. But I think that's maybe the point. Somebody said, what do blue lines on a hockey rink have to do with racism? And I said, you're not seeing the point of the whole thing. The point is to destroy the culture. If you have something that's 100 plus years old, and the NHL is 100 plus years old, the original 6, right? That is loved by a large portion of the society you're targeting, it cannot stand. Don Cherry was the first. Now it's the game itself under attack. And I think that that's true. I think that what they're doing is if there's something that people can rally behind that's not Joe Biden and Kamala Harris or this equity, equality politics that is taken over everything, cultural Marxism that has taken over everything. You can't have people say, but, aren't those Maple Leafs doing well? We did well. Aren't those, whoever, basketball, I don't even know about. Lakers, are they still a team? Aren't they doing well? You can't have people rallying around that kind of stuff, right? Because then, well, it's not what they're allowed to be talking about. What they're allowed to be talking about is Black Lives Matter, right? And not all lives matter. That's racist, right? Are you seeing this, right? Like you usurp it. take it over. Here's an interesting juxtaposition. That means something up against something else. Randy Hillier says, this surely is one of the biggest problems Toronto is facing, considering, and this is True North, here it is. Here's the tweet. True North is tweeting, or there's an article about it. Considering the renaming of Dundas Street is just the beginning of the work we need to do to build a Toronto where we all belong, said Toronto Mayor. You know, when I was 14, younger, in the early 90s, my mom drove my friend and I downtown to Queen Street and let us kind of meander up and down for the day, and then my dad drove us home. And I have some family in Toronto, and Toronto's not an unknown city to me, so that wasn't a big issue. I would not do that with a 14-year-old that I was in charge of now, just for fear of them being hit with a stray bullet. Even downtown Guelph's a little dicey these days by themselves. And so Toronto being renamed isn't really finding the where we all belong kind of spirit of Toronto. Maybe getting rid of those illegal guns might be a start, right? Here's Tom Quiggin, and he says, but don't forget the most important thing for Mayor John Tory is to rename Dundas Street so we can all feel better. And this is CP24 saying, man has life-threatening injuries after stabbing at Young in Dundas Square. That racist name, right? That's offensive to my good sensibilities. Goodness, Dundas. I can't believe I read that. Dundas, right? Forget the life-threatening injuries for that stabbed guy. He's probably, that's where we're at, right? It is a very interesting situation to watch the politicians completely ignore the destruction of our culture, right? We don't have safe city streets anymore. We don't have, here's something from the States, not from Canada. Hold on. Okay, this is in line with, we'll get to the United States, but people are attacking police officers simply because they're police officers and they do something they don't like. They're poisoning the water for people to listen and obey to the people who are meant to be enforcing the laws of the land. This is not good. This isn't a good situation. This isn't a good turn. This isn't going to make things better. Diversity isn't our strength. They're lying, okay? Diversity and proximity usually equals war. Look at history, okay? I'm not just being hateful. There is precedent in recent history for when large groups of people move into proximity with each other, then the result is not just peace and kumbaya, it's conflict, okay? That's the reality of those situations in history. I'm not trying to be hateful. Anyway, moving on to gun violence. Ahmed Hassan says, everyone deserves to live in a country where they can feel safe and secure. We are focused on making communities and families safer. That's why we moved forward with the ban on all military-style assault rifles to keep Canadians safe from gun violence. Okay, there's a couple of things wrong with that. Dundas, right? That's what they're talking about. They're talking about safe and communities and families safer. They're talking about renaming the streets. That's what they're talking about. And moving on a military-style assault rifle. That doesn't exist in Canadian rifle or firearms vernacular, right? That's just a made-up term to scare people. And that's not appropriate for people who are in our government, who are leading our government, right? And this is an attack on O'Toole and his regressive plan to appease the gun lobby by weakening restrictions. The restrictions that were placed on the most recent restrictions that made the AR-15, the hunting rifle AR-15 illegal, were placed by an order in council during a pandemic. That's not appropriate. That's not the way to do things. That doesn't work. Here's Jagmeet Singh talking about irresponsible use of, well, here's irresponsible use of a platform, but irresponsible politicians anyway. He says, Regis, I'm going to get her name wrong, Paquette, Korshinsky Paquette, I'm sorry if I've got her name wrong, died because of police intervention, says Jagmeet Singh. She needed help with her, and her life was taken instead. The SIU's decision brings no justice to the family, and it won't prevent this from happening again. That's what Jagmeet Singh says. This is 9:52 p.m. August 26th. Here's the police article about this, and it was released August 26th at 12:54 p.m. Okay, right. So this is posted after this. And it clearly says, Martino acknowledges that typically the director of the SIU does not personally deliver the results of an investigation when no charges are laid. However, Martino said that the SIU recognizes that this is not an ordinary occasion given the incredible public interest and attention that the case has generated. Quote, there were allegations in the wake of Miss Korshinsky's Paquette's death she was pushed off the balcony by the police. The evidence establishes that this did not occur, Martino said. Instead, the evidence indicates that no one other than Miss Korshinsky-Paquette was on the balcony when she scaled over the railing and attempted to sidestep along the outer ledge over to her neighbor's balcony, lost her balance, and fell. So, blaming the police for her death does nothing but inflame already frayed, already stretched police tensions, already stretched tensions because even just accusing the police of this, I mean, look at what happened when they accused the police of this. And it's a shame that that poor girl died. That has nothing to do with blaming the police. And it wasn't the police's fault. It wasn't their fault. Like, I don't think it's responsible for the leader of a major political party to propagate this kind of division. It's not helpful. It doesn't help. It doesn't help her. It doesn't help people in the future. It doesn't do any good. Here's the New York video I was talking about. Violent criminals are openly attacking police officers in de Blasio's New York City for citing them for parking violations. This guy parked at a fire hydrant and proceeded to brutally assault police officers. This is becoming okay because of the rhetoric in the news media. People are talking about removing officers from high school. Officers have been in high schools in Canada for 20 years, and it's been a very positive, well-received program. Canada has a very different approach to policing than the United States. We do social policing in Canada, and in the United States, it's deputized and militarized policing, which is very different, as far as I understand it. Also, they have state troopers, which is different than how policing is done typically around the provinces, right? So, like, there's a lot of differences, and people are ignoring those differences in favor of believing the rhetoric of the United States mainstream media that is being adopted by the Canadian mainstream media. It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable. Here's moving into kind of COVID stuff. Bill Blair says, our government is extending the existing restrictions on international travel to Canada by 1 month until September 30th, 2020, to limit the introduction of spread of COVID-19 in our communities. It says Canadian citizens and permanent residents returning to Canada will continue to be subject to strict quarantine measures. Exemptions and other details can be found here. And here's CTV on August 10th. Passengers with COVID-19 keep arriving in Canada on international flights. Between in the first 10 days, there was 18 people or 18 flights that had COVID patients. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot. It doesn't seem like anybody's interested in really stopping this. It's really, it's really, really strange. It's not strange. It's inept. They're not doing their jobs. It's that simple. It's that simple. They're irresponsible. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Here's a video of our current Deputy Prime Minister interviewing George Soros about the New World Order and how you've got to get China on board with the New World Order. China is really important. You know, right now they're not really playing ball, but we can get them on board. Here they go. We'll just listen to the first 20 seconds.
Potential deal should Obama be seeking to strike when he travels to China next month?
No, I think this would be the time because you really need to bring China into the creation of a new world order, financial world order. They are kind of reluctant members of the IMF. They play along, but they don't make much of a contribution because it's not their institution. Their share is not commensurate. Their voting rights are not commensurate.
Okay, so strategizing about China, blah, blah, blah. But kind of gives an idea of why Trudeau's been so weak on China. And hold on, I'm going to get another article I want to show you. So what could George Soros and our current Deputy Prime Minister be talking about with regards to a new financial world order? You know, not a new world order, a financial new world order, if that's less scary for you. It's not. No new world order. No new world order at all. Thank you very much. I don't need that. Remember this? Justin Trudeau plots Canada's sharpest left turn in economic policy in decades. Like, that's a picture of Chrystia Freeland with Trudeau in the background. Just positioning. Positioning matters. Is this what they're talking about? Is this the economic new world order with China? Is this what we're just kind of sleepwalking into? I don't know, but I'm asking the question. Is it? Is that where we want to go? Here's National Post. This is our first couple of months of being globalists. This is how it pans out financially. Are you ready? Buckle up. It's great. National Post is reporting Ottawa runs $120 billion deficit in just 3 months as Canadian economy craters. The staggering deficit comes as new numbers show the Canadian economy shrinking by a record high 38% in the same period. Yay! That's not good. That's not good. And it gets worse, okay? The federal government ran a $120 billion deficit between April and June as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau continues to extend financial aid to people and businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic. The staggering deficit comes as Statistics Canada posted new economic numbers on Friday, which showed the Canadian economy shrinking by a record high 38% over the same 3-month period. The new economic and fiscal data underscores the immense challenge facing Trudeau Liberals during the pandemic, who are facing calls to both reorient Canada's fiscal position while also ensuring struggling families and businesses get the support they need. According to new data released by Finance Canada on Friday, Ottawa ran a $33 billion deficit in the month of June alone, far more than the $28 billion deficit it was projected to post for the entire 2020-21 fiscal year. It ran a combined $120 billion deficit over the entire quarter compared to a deficit of just $85 million in the same period last year. Even as spending increased sharply over the quarter, the cost of public debt decreased nearly 30% from $6.9 billion to $4.9 billion. The lower debt charges are a result of record low interest rates, which were slashed by central banks around the world at the onset of the pandemic. The Canadian Emergency Response Benefit CURB accounted for the single largest expenditure over the quarter at $41.6 billion. The next largest was the Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy, CEWS, at $22 billion, and a small business loan program that cost nearly $7 billion over the quarter. Total program spending from April to June was $172 billion. Revenue also plummeted by 37%, down by $32 billion to $52 billion over the quarter. Meanwhile, Stats Canada data on Friday showed the single largest economic dive in Canadian history, falling by nearly 40% in the 3 months ending in June. Business investment fell 16.2%, which Statistics Canada said is a result of plant closures, low oil prices, and heightened economic uncertainty. Employee compensation fell by 8.9%, the steepest drop ever recorded, as workers were laid off, furloughed, or had their hours slashed. The Trudeau government seems poised to continue its spending binge after the Prime Minister suggested his government would return to Parliament in September with ambitious spending plans that are expected to significantly expand the social safety net. This is our moment to change the future for the better, Trudeau told reporters last week. We can't afford to miss it because the window of opportunity won't be open for long. The Liberal government is expected to post a $343 billion deficit in 2021, not including another $37 billion in spending announced last week, which will introduce 3 new benefits programs for workers and relax employment insurance rules to allow more Canadians to apply for financial aid. That whole article was awful. And then the end kind of like sounds like Justin Trudeau's like, we've got to seize the moment and dude, make the changes now. I don't think so. I think that's a bad idea. I think that we need to open the economy and stop the draconian lockdowns and allow business to get back to work and do everything you can to support the stimulation of our economy through business, through business and like usual economic levers rather than like creating magic money and just printing money, because what's happening is not good. It's not good. The moment is quickly slipping away, and I don't think it's an opportunity to force change. And make no mistake, they're going to exploit it to try and push their change. But man, it's not. No, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's going to end well. Right? Pierre Poilievre says, truly brutal collapse in our economy, minus 40% year over year, shows that now is not the time to test the ideological fantasies of the Davos billionaires or other globe-trotting elites. We need real jobs for real people in real industries that make real things in the real world. Yeah, what he said. Yeah, good job, Mr. Poilievre. Okay. Pierre Poilievre also says we are taking action to stop liberals from destroying evidence. This is evidence with regards to the We Charity stuff. I'm not going to read through all this. This is letters to important people, making sure that evidence is preserved. Why would you have to do that, right? Why would that be important to dot your I and cross your T in this way? Senator Leo Housakis tells us the Premier's chief of staff actually went to jail for this because the opposition wouldn't let it go. They did their jobs at committee in the chamber and called in the police. That's what Justin Trudeau is trying to avoid. We mustn't allow him. They must be held to account. And Jackie Budden says many of the people who worked for the McWinty, so Dalton McGuinty and Wynne Liberals, when they criminally destroyed emails, now work for the Trudeau Liberals. So yeah, this is actually a legitimate request. How sad is that? So yeah, like this is where we're at, right? Like this is a real concern, a legitimate question because of past practice, because of things they've done in the past. Last story for this morning, and I guess I'm kind of short today. I got a few extra tabs I could add. I actually had more data here, but I can't find the other chart that goes with this. When I originally saved this, I had two charts and they looked the same. But regardless, this is the first wave of the coronavirus hitting, and you see all the deaths there. And this is the second wave of the coronavirus hitting, in the far right there, the blue in the right. And you see the no deaths there, the red going down, that's the deaths. See that? There's the excuses for the continued lockdown, the excuses for not getting our economy up are flimsy at best. I don't understand why there's no criteria to repeal mandatory masks. I don't understand why in Ontario and most places that I've seen in Canada have I don't think Saskatchewan. I think Saskatchewan and Quebec don't have masks going back, but a lot of other places do. Why, if this is really no more deadly than the flu, and particularly in the second wave here, why are we continuing to allow our economy to be decimated and allow our spirit to be broken in this way, right? Like this isn't healthy to be wearing masks all the time. It's not healthy to be dehumanized like this, right? It's not healthy to start a school year like that, I don't think. It's not healthy to have a society that doesn't have the answers to pertinent questions regarding its governance, and the people in charge seem to be more interested in renaming street names than cracking down on gangs and illegal weapons. So, man, it seems like the leaders don't care what you think, and they don't care what I think. And what are they going to do if you get too noisy about it? They'll ignore you. And that's quite effective, because if they ignore you, then I'm kind of silenced, right? I've done everything that I can do except exposing them for ignoring you, or me, right? And then what happens then? Well, you need either people to rise up, because then if they rise up, then you were kind of right? And you could coordinate it, right? You could say like, this is what happened to me and we should do X, Y, Z, or you can just put it out there and then nothing happens, right? And they carry on with their Marxist ideology. They carry on with renaming the blue line to the black line, and you're supposed to watch it like good comrades, right? Because screw your culture, right? Screw your game. That's the point. That's where we're at. That's where we're at, right? It doesn't matter how you used to go to school. It doesn't matter how you used to live. This is how you live now because COVID. Is it worth it? Is this really what we're going to do because of all the cases? A case-demic? This is what's happening, though. And I think a year ago, if you had told people this is what you're going to be living under, people would say, I'm going to run now. And here we are. We're boiled frogs, right? Like, we've got so much invested in the infrastructure. We've got so much invested. Most people think, oh, it's going to go back to normal in 6 months. In 6 months, you're not going to be able to fly anywhere, and you're going to need to show a passport to get into a business, right? Beep, beep. Or they're going to do it to our kids. And as the kids grow up, that's just going to be normal. And the entire society is going to change that way. It's happening in real time. Like, we're watching it. And either we're powerless to stop it, or we're not organized enough to stop it. And we don't care enough to get organized. So, and that may all be true. I have no idea. I don't have the right answer. I'm just pointing it out. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com. Check out CanadaReport.co. Go watch the end of The Sum of All Fears. Just ponder, why did Trump do this? And have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. It's a weekend. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day.